Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel and I hope you must all be doing great. Today we're going to work on a new Power BI project to make your resume look more insightful than ever, especially in the marketing industry by conducting a marketing campaign analysis. So let's get into it. A market campaign is a focused effort to promote a product, service, or brand through multiple channels. Analyzing campaigns is a way to understand of what works, optimizing budgets, and driving better results. Now, the big question arises why marketing campaign analysis matters. Firstly, measuring the campaign effectiveness. Secondly, understanding the audience engagement. Thirdly, identifying strengths and weaknesses. And lastly, guiding the future campaigns. Now, let's move on to the KPIs that we will be uncovering in this project. Firstly, we have the average ROI, which shows the overall performance of the each campaign. Next, we have the total revenue, which highlights the financial impact of the campaigns, tracking all income generated. Moving on, we have the total spend, which highlights and provides insights into the resource allocation, ensuring budgets for maximum efficiency. Lastly, we have the best campaign, which highlights the top performing campaign, ensuring a perfect benchmark. After learning these basics for the marketing campaign analysis, let's jump on to creating the marketing campaign analysis dashboard. So, to start with the demo of the project, as you can see here, this is the average of return on investment, which basically refers to the profit that the campaigns obtained after spending or after you know spending the cost on the each campaign. So ROI can be referred to as the profit that each marketing campaign generated after cutting down all the costs. And you can see that the total revenue that overall all the campaigns generated, which was 42 millions, and the total spend was 25 millions. So you can obviously see that the total revenue was much more greater, making sure that all the campaigns performed effectively. And the best campaign that was the influencer marketing campaign. And you can also see here that the total spend and total revenue by each region. You can see that the total spend was comparatively low in the region Africa compared to the total revenue. So all of these regions are extremely doing well in terms of generating the total revenue. If you hover onto it, you can see that. And you can see the total spend and the average of ROI. Whatever spend we performed on each campaign, whatever cost we made sure that we have to invest in the campaign, and how was the overall ROI or the overall performance, you can see by the average of ROI. Here, the average of ROI for a campaign name influencer marketing is 1.10, and the total spend was 31 lakhs. Still, the average is much more better compared to the total spend. And you can see that the total ROI by campaign name, for example, you can see here in the influencer marketing, the total ROI was exceptionally well, and it actually surpassed the average of ROI here in this chart which I showed you currently. And these are the total campaigns by the campaign type. Traditional campaigns were much more, and you can see that the total ROI and the average ROI of ROI. Total return on investment is around 676.25, which was much more greater than the average of ROI, showing that all campaigns did exceptionally well, and the all the campaigns that have to be targeted in the near more future would generate much more profits if done in the right way. And you can see here that this was the best campaign. So, for example, if I just zoom in and if I just click here for the region Oceania, you can see that the average of ROI here was 0.62%. The total revenue was 6.62. Let me just zoom out. Let me just make sure. Now, when I selected on this particular Oceania region, each of my visual was highly impacted. For example, for this particular region, when I selected, the influencer marketing generated the total ROI as 21, and then the social media ads generated around 90, and then the traditional campaign type was around 37.2%. So let me just unselect, and each of my visual would be back to normal. For example, I want to see for the campaign type digital, and you can see for the digital campaigns type, the revenue was 27.38. For example, if I want to see it for traditional, the total revenue was 15. So why is it that traditional campaigns are doing much more lesser income compared to the digital campaign types? They're because everything seems to be digitalized right now. So these campaigns are doing exceptionally well. So to unselect the selection, you can just click here in the particular visualization. And with this, you can see that this will be the final dashboard or the report that you will be creating. Let me just zoom in for you for a particular view. Mm, mm. Okay. So now this looks great. So moving on to creating the actual report or the dashboard for this project, what we are going to do is, as you always know, in my previous projects, we are going to first load the data, we are going to import it, then we are going to load or transform the data accordingly, and then we are going to perform data modeling, and then the last step would be creating a report or dashboard. So let's get into it. You'll click here in the home tab, the get data option, and then you can import your data from any data source wherever your data is stored. For example, in Excel workbooks, in data flows, or even from cloud servers like Snowflake and all. But for now, we're going to deal with text or CSV files, and you can see that all these three tables will be loaded. So we are going to just load them one by one, and you'll have to wait because it takes a bit of time loading. And you can see the preview here. You can see in the marketing campaign details table, there is the campaign name, the type of the campaign, the average spend, return on investment, which is the ROI, and the total campaigns. And you can just simply click on load data. Again, you can make sure you can first clean the data and then load it. But for now, I am going to just load all of my tables and then I'm going to clean them. Again, you can just click on get data, text or CSV, marketing campaign performance, which would be the main table or the fact table that we will be seeing in the data modeling portion. And we'll just load it. All the rows have been successfully loaded. Again, text or CSV, region performance, you'll open it. Again, you've gotten the preview that region wise performance, what was the overall campaign performance of all the campaigns according to each region, and you will just load these. So you can see here in the data tab, let me show you. Let me just zoom in for you. You can see in the data pane that all the three tables have been successfully imported. Now let me just zoom out. And moving on, what is the next step? We are going to make sure our data is cleaned so as to perform further analysis. Now what you will do is you can click on transform data, and here you will click on the transform data option. And again, this will load the Power Query editor, which is the most finest tools when you're going to perform data analysis in Power BI, because it actually helps to reduce much of your tasks. So now here the table name seems fine, the marketing campaign details, which is perfectly fine. But the data is also pretty much cleaned. There is each record, there are no null values, no duplicates for now. But what you can do is in these column names, these campaign name, type, and average spend, make sure to leave some spaces so that the field names or the column names look tidy. So just click on campaign name here and make sure to leave some space. You can just rename this as campaign type. Campaign type, average spend, average ROI, total campaigns. Average ROI is nothing but the overall performance of all the campaigns, or what was the profit that we gained when we invested in the particular campaigns. Now we will make sure to transform the main table, which is the marketing campaign performance table, and just make sure that all the data types are appropriate and all the fields are not duplicates, or there are no null values. The merging and splitting of column, if not in this data set exactly, but if in another data set you see that merging or splitting of columns is essential, so make sure you do that also. So this is the campaign ID. Everything seems fine here. You can click here on the campaign ID and make sure to leave some spaces in these fields also. The campaign ID data type is in the whole number, which is fine. This is in the text format. The region is fine. The industry also is fine. This is the spend on each particular campaign, and like for a particular campaign ID, this was the total spend. These were the total impressions, like how many people basically had a look of what campaign a particular company was conducting. And these are the number of clicks. Number of clicks is how many people chose to look at the campaign by clicking on that particular ad. And again, the conversion rate, the revenue they generated, and the return on investment. For example, here some values are in negative, which means the campaign did not do pretty good in terms of generating the revenue, which means that campaign was in losses compared to the profit it generated. So everything looks fine here. Now you can go to the next table, which is the region performance. And you can see this is the region. These are the total spend, revenue, and average ROI. Again, make sure to leave some space so that it looks tidy. Total revenue, average ROI. Now what you will do is, you have made sure to do all the changes. Now you can just click on close and apply. This will simply close and apply all the changes that you've done in your tables. Whatever the field names that you've made sure to that they look tidy, everything changes have been done. So now this will create a connection with the model. So now everything looks sorted for now, and you can make sure to move to the model view here, and you can see that this is the marketing campaign details table. If I just hover onto it, you can see that this is the name of the table. If I hover onto this, you can see marketing campaign performance, and this is the region performance as the table says so. And you can see that the marketing campaign performance is our fact table, which contains most of the data from other some of the dimension tables such as region performance and marketing campaign details. If I just show you, you can see this is a one-to-many relationship among the marketing campaign performance and marketing campaign details table by a common field, which is the campaigning name or the campaign name. And the region performance, which is a dimension table, has been connected to the marketing campaign performance table by a one-to-many relationship again by what common field, which is the region common field. Now, we don't need to do further data modeling because both of these dimension tables are successfully connected to the fact tables. What you can do is you can just move back to the report view and start by creating your report. Now, what am I going to do is, first of all, let me just make sure the view of this report looks fine. Let me go to the fit to width. Or maybe what I could do is, I could change the view actually. Fit to width. Okay, let me just do it fit to width only for now. Okay. So move back to the home tab. Now make sure we are going to create some of the measures which will play a crucial role in creating this report or dashboard. So let me just show you how I will create these measures, and then we can start by creating our visualizations. So let me just move back to the, either you can click new measure, you can create a new measure from here, or you can move back to the table view and create measures there. But okay, I'm going to click here in the new measure section. And I will create a measure such as total impressions. I want to see how total impressions would be basically the sum of each campaign performances impressions, like how many people saw all over the campaigns. So let me just show you some marketing campaign performance impressions. This would basically total up or sum up the all the impressions for all the campaigns. And you'll see here, if I just zoom in for you, if I just zoom in, this is the total impressions measure that you finally got it. Now what you can do is, actually we want this measure in the fact table, which is the marketing campaign performance. What you can do is, you can make sure when you just click on the measure, you can see the home table option. Let me just show you. You can see the home table currently is the marketing campaign details, and I want it in the marketing campaign performance. So it will make sure to do the necessary changes. So when you will see here, let me just show you, you will see that this is imported in the marketing campaign performance table here. You can see the total impressions is now here. Now again, I want to create a new measure. Total clicks basically is a new measure which will sum up the overall total clicks for all the campaigns that people have clicked onto. Like whatever the ad of the campaign was, for each of the campaign, we will sum up the number of clicks for all the campaigns at once. So let me just show you. You can see here direct only either, and I will just sum up, and this will create a new measure. Now again, I want another measure. Total conversions. Conversion basically means the action after clicking, particularly after clicking on a particular ad campaign, if they performed any action after it. Maybe they signed up a Google form for that particular ad campaign, or maybe they chose to buy something from the campaign. So that is the conversion that we are talking about. So we will just sum up these, and we'll click enter. Again, these are in the marketing campaign details table, but I want to make sure that these go to the right table. So I'll just click on marketing campaign performance. All my measures should be in one particular table only. Total clicks would move to the marketing campaign performance table. Now I want to create another new measure, which is the total revenue that was generated from all the campaigns, or all the campaign IDs, or their performance, whatever their performances was, basically how much revenue each campaign generated. So we will sum up. You can see here marketing campaign performance revenue. So for all the campaigns, I will sum up the revenue that they generated. And again, I'll make sure that this is in the right table also. Again, I will create a new measure. Total spend. Total spend. In the total spend, we will basically sum up the total sum of the spends we performed on each marketing, on each campaign. Like whatever the cost of each campaign was, whatever we spent it on all the campaigns, we will sum up the cost of that. So we will just click on sum and marketing campaign performance, and we will find the spend, and we will just sum it. And again, we will make sure it is in the fact table. Okay, so for now we have created all the necessary measures which are crucial for us. Now we will be moving on to the canvas. We'll make sure that our canvas looks good. So now we will go to the visualizations pane, and you will click here, and you will click on the canvas background. And you can choose a particular color for this. For example, I'm going with a color which is darker, maybe something like, let me just see. And make sure the transparency is 0. You could go for a much more darker color also. Okay, so this looks fine for now. And you can just switch to other ribbon which doesn't show so much for now. And or maybe just let it be normal, because if in the tutorial it can create some sort of confusion. Now, what you can do is, first of all, we'll be starting off with our first visualization, which is the total spend and total revenue by each region. What was the total spend each region generated for all the campaigns, and what was the total revenue? Like, there should be some sort of profit they must be gaining out of each campaign by each region. So what you will do is, you'll go back here for the visual section and you'll create a stacked column chart. You'll drag this all over way here. Let me make sure there is enough space also. Now what you are going to do is, first of all, in the x-axis, you're going to drag the total spend and the total revenue, and we are going to basically compare that among each region. So what we are going to do is, we'll find the total spend first and we'll drag this all the way to the x-axis. Let me just drag it over once again. I think it's not working. So actually, what we are going to do is, we just, yeah. So the total spend and total revenue we have seen here, this is a stacked column chart. So we will drag these to the y-axis firstly. And then what we are going to do is, in the x-axis, we are going to make sure for each particular region we have to find. So what we are going to do is, we are going to click here on the region. Either you can select region from here, but since the data is well modeled, so you can select region from here as well, and you can drag this all the way to the x-axis. So now you can see, basically for each region, this is the total spend and the total revenue. For example, in Africa, if I have a, you can see the total spend was this and the total revenue was 86. So this shows that basically Africa did performed well in terms of its campaigns. And again, in Asia, this was the total revenue and this was the total spend. So they're gaining a lot of profit out of all these campaigns by each region. So for now, we will just leave this. Or what we can do is, we can make sure to just make this visualization more attractive. We're going to click on the title and we are going to make sure that the font is Arial and the text color is black. It's bold and it's centrally aligned. And just resize this, or maybe to size 13 also. And what you can do is, you can go back to the visual section and you can make sure that, let us say, these legends do not look in the right position. So you can change its position to maybe center right. Yes, now they look much better. Go back to the general section, and what you can do is, in the effects drop down, you can make sure the background color is black. You can make sure the visual borders are also on, but for now, okay, we'll go with borders these only. and we will make sure to round our corners to 20 pixels. And you can also include a shadow effect, but for shadow we are going to go with something blue, which makes it more, appealing also, I'll say. And what else you can do is go back to the visual section, and the grid lines, you can work with the grid lines. You can make these the grid lines, and they are asking the type of grid line. We can have different line styles also. I want a solid line. Okay, for now this doesn't look good, but let me just show you how I will work my way up it. In the columns drop down, we want to apply settings to first the total spend. So I want a total spend color to be this, and I want my total revenue that was generated by each of these campaigns would be this. So now you can see that now it looks much better. Now what else you can do is you can make sure that the basically the labels of these are do appear, because currently they're not very much, you can't see them properly. So you can just go back here and you can choose the first of all the font type. For when you click on the y-axis drop down in the visuals pane, you can make sure that the values look much more appearable. So you will click on white here. We can go with the white ones. And for the title also, I will go for the Arial, and I will make sure it's in white color. And what else you can do is in the legends drop down also, you can make sure that these values appear properly. So now they also look good, and make sure the font type and the font size is consistent. Similarly, for x-axis, what you can do is make it white in color, and you can make sure to increase its size, and the font type is Arial again, and the title is also visible. For the font type, go for Arial of the title of the x-axis, and make sure the color is white. And what else you can do is in the general section for the main title of this visualization, click on the titles drop down menu and make sure that text color is white, and you can make sure it's a bit in small size, I'll say. So now you can see that this looks much better. You can see everything. What else you can do is you can make sure the data labels are also on. So click on the visuals pane also and go to the data label section, and you can click on. And now automatically you will see significant differences between the total spend and the total revenue for each region. So that will help you to compare that what was the total spend and the total revenue for each region, and what region we can target to conduct our more campaigns. So now this was the first visualization that we created. Now we will be creating a combo chart to see the total ROI and the average of ROI by each campaign. So let me just click here. A line and clustered column chart basically is a combo chart also. So you can either say it in both ways, that is completely fine. And you will just make sure to resize it. Now what you can do is, we want the total ROI, which is the total return on investment, and the average of ROI, which is the overall return on investment for each campaign name. So from the marketing campaign details table, you can import the campaign name to the x-axis. And what you can do is, actually, I think we will go with the total spend and the average of ROI by each campaign name, because we want to see that whatever we have spent it on each particular campaign, did we generate enough average return on investment from that? So we want to compare among those. Total ROI and average ROI we will be comparing later. But for now, I think we can go with the total spend and the average of ROI. So what we are going to do is, we're going to make sure that the total spend moves to the column y-axis. You can see here. And what we are going to do is the average ROI will be the on the line y-axis, and we will drag this here. Or maybe this actually calculates count. You can also go with average, but rather than selecting from the region performance the average ROI, because it will be biased based on the region performances. So what you can do is you can just select from here and you can drag this from the marketing campaign performance table, and rather than sum you can aggregate it to the average. So now you can see that whatever this was the total spend. For example, for the campaign name search engine ads, this was the total spend that was there. And if I just hover onto the line chart, if let me just show you, this was the average of ROI, which was 0.6 or 6%. So that is how you can see it for each campaign. So now what am I going to do is first I'm to click here, and in order to save your time for each visualization, you can just click on a particular visualization that has already been edited, and you can just click on format paint and you can just click on this one, and that will basically do the other changes. For the other crucial changes like the x-axis and the color of the columns don't look good, we will be working on that. So we will move to the format your visual section, and for the x-axis, okay, what you can do is you can just click here and first you can make sure to resize this also. Go back to the format your visual section, go to the x-axis, and you can, now this looks okay, we can see it for all the campaigns now. And what you can do is for the title, you can just exceed the title size. Now moving to the y-axis, what you can do is the values seem they are appearable, but again you can increase the size of these also. For the title, what you can do is you can again increase the size. Arial is fine, the font type which we have chosen. You can switch off the data labels, I'll say. And for the line, I'll say go with a color which is much more preferable, like something like light pink. So let me just show you, go with this color, I'll say. And you can, in the markers drop down, you can, we want to show markers for all the types, and you can increase the size of the markers here. Now what you can do is if you want to make sure the colors of these columns also look nice, we want to apply it to all the categories, and I want a color which is light. For example, I'll go with this, or maybe I can also go with this. So now this also looks good. Now what you can do is the grid line color actually clashes with it. So let me just go down, and in the grid lines drop down menu, you can work your way up to another color which resembles with the color of the bars. And what else you can do is for the let me just show you, for the secondary y-axis, here is the title actually, and you can see it right now. So we will make sure that the values are visible for these also. So you can switch these on, and you can make this an Arial, and the color can be white again, and the title of this can also be in the font type of Arial with color white. And what else you can do is you can actually make sure you can, if you want to switch on the data labels, you can do that. So we will click here, but we want the data labels in a much more cleaner format, I'll say. Maybe I want to only see for the average of ROI. So what will I do is I want to make sure that my values also look in a much more cleaner way. For now, these are not visible also. We don't want a background for these. If you want to make some changes in the total spend also, you can make sure that the background of this also remains off. And what you can do is you can again make this one white in color, but you can just resize it to a much more smaller size. and to the Arial format as well. So that is how you will get your total spend and the average of ROI by each campaign. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create some other visualizations such as creating a bar chart. So what we're going to do is we're going to start bar chart from here, and we're going to drag this all the way down, and we're just going to resize it and make sure it's aligned perfectly with this. Now what we are going to see in this visualization is the total ROI by each campaign. Before we saw a comparison between the total spend and the total revenue, then the total spend and average of ROI by each campaign. But now we are going to see the total ROI rather than the average of ROI. Now what we are going to do is we're going to import the campaign name from the marketing campaign details table and drag it all the way to the y-axis. And we want the total ROI. So what you can do is you can also create a measure also for this. So what we are going to do is let me just create a measure. We'll click on the new measure in the calculation section. And you will type as total ROI is equal to sum of marketing campaign performance. And you will just search for ROI here and you will just hit enter. And this will create your new measure. You actually, what could have done is, if I just drag this, for example, this could have actually aggregated it to sum of revenue only, which is same as creating a measure of total revenue. But I wanted to show you how measures are created for all these. So that is why I went up with another approach of creating measures. So let me just click back to the visualization and let me move this. Let me search for the measure I created. Okay, this is in the marketing campaign details table. So I will drag this to the x-axis. So now you can see that for each campaign, we have gotten the total ROI. What you can do is, again, you can click on format pane and you can just hit here. And this will give you all the measures for each campaign. Now what you can do is you can make sure some changes like the data labels are not visible right now. Go to the visual section and see the data labels. And what you can do is we want to make sure that the values are white in color also, because these are not appearing right now properly. And go for a font which is Arial and click on bold. And what you can do is for the y axis actually, you can make sure that the size of these values are much more visible. And everything seems fine as of now. If you want to make these bold, you can make these bold also, but I would not prefer that. So now this also we have done. If I just hover onto it, you can see that for influence marketing, the highest total revenue was $137,35,000 or something like that, whatever the currency the revenue was generated in. Then social media ads, that was the total ROI, and the search engine, that was the total ROI. And if you want to see the measure, you want to see a calculation of the measure once again, you can just see here that this was the for sum. Again for radio ads and then for billboards. Subsequently, this has been arranged in a descending order. For social media ad, influencer marketing, this was the highest total return on investment. And then for social media ads, and then subsequently for each campaign. Now, with the next visualization, what we are going to do is we are going to basically show a pie chart to show the significant proportion of campaign types for what were the total campaigns by each type. So what we're going to do is we're going to import a pie chart, and now we will drag it all the way and we will just resize it. And you're going to leave some space also. So now what am I going to do is I'm going to first select this chart, and then my legends would be the campaign type. So I will just drag this to my legend section here. And what am I going to do is I want to see the total campaigns by each type of it. So what am I going to do is, so I'm just going to click here and I'm going to drag this to the here on the value section. This will count the total campaigns and I want the sum of them. So I will either, you can actually not the sum, sorry, the count. So now you will see the count of these, and what we are going to do is now we're going to make some changes here. So again, select any visualization, click on format paint, and you will get all the necessary changes done. But for now, what we are going to do is we are going to the general section in the format visual section, and we are going to rename this as total campaign by market type, by campaign type, and we will just make sure that the font size is right. Everything seems fine, and just select this visualization again. Go to the format your visual section and make sure the slices colors are in a nice manner. So what we are going to do is, for traditional, I'm going to go with this color, orangish. I mean, it's some shade of orange also. And for the digital one, I'm going with a pink shade. So for now, this is what I've chosen. And what you can do is, for the detailed labels that are being visible to you, you can show a category and the total of it, percent of the total. For now, these are not visible, so we'll work on the font of these. We're going to click on Arial, and you can just minimize the size of this and go for a white color. So you don't need the legends if already there's a category shown to you. So you can just switch these off, and now these are visible. So now you have created another visualization, and if you hover onto it, you can see that for the traditional type of campaign, there were total 3 campaigns which contributed to 37.5% of the total, and this was the digital campaign which were 5, which generated about 62.5% of the total campaign proportion. Now moving on, we will create a GOT chart. We want to see how the average ROI surpassed the total ROI expectations. For example, let me just first make sure to drag it all the way here, and then I'll explain you in a while. I want to see how basically did my average ROI surpass the expectation, or was my total ROI below the average ROI, or was my total ROI above the average ROI. If my total return on investment, basically the profit we are saying in layman's terms, if my total ROI was greater than the average ROI, it basically means that my campaigns were doing exceptionally well. They exceeded the expectations also. But if my total ROI did not came out to be as good as the average ROI, it basically means that there is something wrong with my campaigns, or maybe I should make sure to optimize, or I should spend less on my campaigns and make sure to generate profit more out of them rather than contributing a lot of money into it. So what will I do is, my target value is the average ROI. So let me just show you. Actually, just let me just drag this down. And this is the target value, which is the average of ROI, and my total ROI. Let me just make sure my total ROI would be my actual value. And now you can see that my average of ROI was 0.68%, or basically 68%. And this and my total ROI basically surpassed my expectations, and it went on more than the average ROI that I expected, which basically means that my campaigns performed exceptionally well compared to the average of ROI. Now, what I can do is I can just again make sure my visualization, I can choose the visualization. I can go click on format paint, and all the changes that are above those, I will just click here and those changes will be automatically done. But again, there are some changes like colors of the gauze. So my fill color, I would go with the fill color, which is orange. And my target color would be in this turquoise shade actually. And my data labels should be white in color. And I will just increase the size. Or maybe 9, I'll keep these. And my target label would be in Arial. And color would be white. And the main call out value would be again in Arial with a call out value color as white. So now you can see how my total ROI surpassed my expectations of average ROI. And now you will just, with this, you have created your visualizations. And now we will be working on the KPIs. So let me just switch these ribbons. So now this is how your whole visualizations will look like. But now we are going to work on the KPIs. So my first KPI would be the average ROI. So what am I going to do is, I will just select a card and I'll just resize this. And what you can do is, let me just first select there and I will drag this here. This is the sum, but I want the average. So this is the average of it. And you can format this also if you want. But for now, okay, let's just keep it for now like this only. Okay. You can make sure that the color or the value of these cards look much more better. So go to the general section. Make sure to change the color of this as black. Okay, for now it is not visible, but you need not worry also. You can first change the roundness of these borders. Let's just keep it till 70. And you can have a shadow also for this. Go back to the visual section. The call out value should be in Arial with color as white. You can make this in bold, but you can also make sure to just resize its size. We will go with 35. Let's just keep it till 35. And what else you can do is, you can make sure it displays on units can also be, for example, to anything. If you wanted to show in thousands or millions, if I show it in thousands, that is not visible. So we'll just keep it till auto only. And you can also choose the decimal places. For example, if I show you, if I wanted to 3 decimal places, it will show me to 3 decimal places, but I can go back with 2. And my category label would be, again, I will change the font of this. Actually, I'll do it to 2. And my color would be white for this. And I will just, okay, so like this, I have created my first card. Now you can make sure to make another more cards also. So I'll click here, I'll choose another card and I'll just leave some space between these. And now I want to show the total revenue. So I have selected this card and this was the total revenue, and I'll just drag this all the way, and that is how you can see the total revenue. You can click here, you can format paint this, and you can just click here, and that is how with less efforts your card has been created. Now again you can choose another card. Now simply you will just keep on dragging the measures and you can click on format paint, and that will make sure that you do less tasks in a much more time efficient manner. and you can actually see with the help of KPIs that what was the revenue you generated and what was the total spend. For now, we can see that our campaigns have been doing exceptionally good in terms of there was spend was less compared to the revenue generated. And what else? You can create another card also. For this, we will be creating a measure to show the best campaign. So I'll show you how to create a measure in a while. For now, we'll just make sure to switch our ribbons back, and I'll create a new measure from here. And I will write it as best campaign. And what I will do is I will use a calculate function. So calculate function basically aggregates a field depending on a particular filter that you'll be given. So I want to calculate the max of market campaign performance table campaign name. So I will click here. Based on what filter, where market campaign performance ROI would be equal to the max of market campaign performance ROI. So let me just show you. Marketing campaign performance ROI would be equal to the max of marketing campaign performance ROI. First of all, let me just show you. Let me give you a breakdown of this also. So this will first find out the maximum of the ROI, the campaigns which generated the highest return on investment, and then it will filter it based on the condition. It will store the values which generated the highest ROI, marketing campaigns performance ROI, and it will find out the maximum of the campaign name which had the highest ROI. So let me just show you, and let me just click here. I think I have not closed this bracket, the calculate bracket. So let me just make sure I do that also. Mm. Okay. Now I have done that. Let me just go and see where it is. Yeah, so let me just select this and I'll drag this here. And now you can see that influencer marketing, if I just show you, you can see that influencer marketing was our best campaign. So let me just select here. Let me click on format paint and let me just. Now what you can do is you can again make sure the call out value is smaller because it is not visible. Or maybe you could do it as 15, I'll say. 16, I'll say. You can again increase its size if you want. Okay, so for now this looks good and this is the best campaign that it has gotten. So with this you have created your visualization, and what you can do is you can name this also. You can name your report. We will write it as campaign performance overview. So now with this you have also labeled your page, and let me just show you. Let me now give you the whole view of this report or dashboard. Now for example, if I click on, maybe I click on influencer marketing in this campaign name, I want to see the total ROI. With this, each visualization will be highly impacted. For example, for influencer marketing, this was the average of ROI, this was the total revenue, This was the total spend. So influencer marketing was also doing pretty good in terms of generating a revenue. And for example, for influencer marketing, you can see that there was no traditional campaign type. And for digital campaign type, there were around 12.5%. Or you can see for digital, there were around total 5 campaigns. And you can also see that for influencer marketing, the average of ROI, the total spend was around 31 lakhs, and the average of ROI is also highlighted. So if you want to just clear your selection, you can click here and it will restore your whole report to it. And you can see here, if I just click here for South America, I want to see the total spend. So you can see in South America, that was the total return on investment for influencer marketing. And in South Africa, there were around traditional campaign types, which were around 37.5%. Again, you can unclear your selection by clicking on that particular report that you select. So let me just show you, and let me just make sure the view is also visible. Mm, If I just minimize it and I click on fit to width. So this would be the final report that you will be creating throughout this project, and we have successfully shown you all the KPIs, all the visualizations that were necessary to the marketing campaign performance analysis. Now, once you have completed finally making the dashboard, now you have to make sure that your data is saved also. So what we're going to do is, you can see an option here in the top right corner, which is the save button. You'll just click here and it will ask you the name of the file that you want to name. And for example, I will write it as marketing campaign analysis and I will save it right away. So you can see that the date it was saved, and finally your project or your the dashboard which you have finally created has been saved successfully. And you can see other measures also. You can see the total revenue, the average of ROI, the total spend, and the best campaign that we have seen throughout. And you can also see the revenue that was generated by each region as well. So this is the final dashboard that you will be creating. Thank you for sticking with me to the end of this video. If you're eager to work on more Power BI projects, make sure to like and share our video and also hit the bell icon for further more updates. See you in the next video.